Hey everyone, and welcome back to Country Music Made Me. Thank you so much for joining us once again. If you haven't already, please be sure to check us out on social media. We're available on all platforms, so just head over, search Country Music Made Me, and give us a follow. You can also visit us at countrymusicmademe.com to sign up for our newsletter to receive exclusive content. On today's episode, we are excited to be welcomed by Jade and Zach of country music duo Five Roses. Now, the pair had their own unique paths towards music growing up, and they first met when Zach's band By the Glory, a punk rock band, went into Jade's barbershop where she was working for a photo shoot. The two got talking about music and quickly linked up to start jamming. They found that not only did they mesh as musicians, but their voices also came together in a unique way. From there, they started to build a career and started going down to Nashville, where they worked with producer Danick Dupelle on their new music, which culminated with the release of their debut EP in August, JukeBox Vibrations. So please enjoy our conversation with Zach and Jade of Five Roses. Let's start out with the new stuff, JukeBox Vibrations. It's hard to say. I have a cold, so I'm a bit nasally, so it's a difficult thing to say. So let's talk about the EP. It was just released a few days ago, actually. So talk about the album. First of all, talk about the title. Is there any special meaning behind that title?
It's from one of the songs on our EP. So the song Feel Good, there's a line in it, in the chorus is, give me some of that feel good. There's pretty strong likelihood. If you give a little jukebox vibrations with a little bit of bar top libations. Yeah. So like we fell in love with that line and we felt it represented the collection of songs and the good vibes of the record. So we kept that as the name of the record.
Awesome. And now you jumped into the studio with Danick back in August of 2020, I believe, is when you started working. Now, was that starting to work on this EP, or did you jump in with him again last year or earlier this year to work on this group of songs?
So we decided to work since August 2020, but the thing was we were supposed to do singles and see how it goes and everything, and finally we just said, let's get all these songs in an EP because we love the songs. So we made out an EP out of that, and we're seven songs, yeah.
7 songs with 2 French versions.
Yeah. Talk about those 2 French versions. How important was it for you to bring that part of your upbringing and that part of your culture into this EP?
It was really important to us. I mean, at first we weren't like, we didn't initially think about it, not because we didn't want to do it, but just because we were, I don't know, I guess we didn't know if, that was going to be a thing with the label or if we should even, explore that option, but we always wanted to eventually do it. And then when it kind of came up organically with the label and they said, you guys should totally do some stuff in Quebec, or at least do some bilingual versions of the songs. And we were totally into the idea. I mean, we grew up listening to English music, French music, and also here in Quebec, like oftentimes songs in English will be translated at least like, half into French. So they can get played on French radio.
Oh, okay. And
Simple Plan has done that a whole bunch of times. So we also were like, it'd be really cool to also bring our music, to French radio as well. And so that's how we got into that. Yeah. And then we picked those 2 songs because we just felt like, I don't know, it just felt right with those 2 songs.
And my mom was really happy because she doesn't understand English.
Oh, okay.
Like, yeah, I can understand what you're saying, guys. So
like they'll get into, well, I say that, like the people who are more, I guess, unilingually French will get into the melody, and they'll get into like the vibe of the song, but they won't be able to necessarily connect with the lyrics. Whereas now we can get them to connect with the lyrics on some of the songs.
And I noticed the single Heartbreak Anytime. That was a single I think you released in 2020. There's a music video with it, but I don't see any mention of it anymore, like on Spotify or on the EP. So what happened with that song?
So basically, we released it as an independent artist. We were not signed with the MDM yet,
Oh,
and
okay.
it was just before the pandemic started. So it kind of went like in the waves of nothing going on, because like it was the day right when the pandemic started and was officially like the lockdown and everything. So it was not a right time to release it, but it's what we like to.
March 13th, 2020, I think, is when we released it. Or like March.
Oh, okay.
Like literally, like the day we released it was a Friday. They're like, global pandemic, everything's shutting down. We're like, oh, you know.
Yeah.
Like, I really enjoyed that song. So is there any thought to maybe re-record it for future projects or anything?
Who knows?
Yeah.
I mean, maybe. We're not opposed to it for sure. I mean, yeah. I definitely explore that out.
We didn't think about it, but it could be an option.
Yeah, for sure.
That's awesome. And now let's dive back into the past and you two as musicians and as people. I've heard you talk about your parents were sort of the reason that you got into country music, and you were inspired by them playing it around the house. Now, a little more than that, just talk about your upbringings and your families and how they inspired you to chase these careers.
That's funny, because since I was really, really young, my mom brought me to concerts and to see Boogie Wonder Band. Do you know Boogie Wonder Band?
No, I don't.
That was a cover band of like disco music and everything. I think it still goes on, and it was
Like
really
a disco
good.
band, no?
Yeah, and I fell in love with the music and like the singer career and everything because of the glitters and all the stuff's going on.
Right.
We used to always dance in like the kitchen when I was young, so I was always introduced to music like every day of my life. It was super important at our place to play music all the time, and my dad used to listen a lot to country music like Chris Christopherson, stuff like that. So, and we have lots of festivals too, like rodeos and stuff like that from where I come from, because
Oh,
like
okay.
small town, it's like 5 hours away from Montreal, and not a lot of people speak English too, so that's why, pardon my French, that's why sometimes I have an accent and I make mistakes, but I'm working on that. And yeah, so that's how I got introduced to music, and then I got cover bands, did some contests, and here we are.
Right.
What about you, Z?
Yeah, I mean, so my parents are both in the film business, so like they never graduated from university. Like they went straight into the film business like in the 70s.
Oh, okay.
And they're both very like artistic people. And my mom's like more on like the production side of things. My dad is on the directing side of things. And so there was always like talks of even before music, or even in parallel to music being present in the household, like there was always talks of creativity. You know, my dad always had like musicians over, or always had like people, you know, talking about, okay, how are we going to produce this commercial? What's the vision? What's the script? What's the this? What's the that? What's the concept? And my mom also, like I visited my mom 1,000,001 times, like on movie sets. And I was, I went to like movie premieres and like, my parents were big, like, movie lovers. And so like, there was always kind of like this, like artistic kind of, creative, this creative kind of aura in the house, really, for lack of a better term. So then when, I told my mom and dad, like when I was 12 or 13, like I wanted to start playing music, my dad like jumped at the occasion and they like bought me a guitar, and then my dad was like, hey, you're going to go do this, you're going to go do that. And then he started, showing me records, and then this, and then, and at that point I was already listening to a lot of music. So like my parents were never, like they're very they're artistic and work in artistic fields themselves. So it was never a clash, so to speak. I think they were just a little bit scared that, I wouldn't make any money.
Yeah.
Because they themselves worked in artistic fields, and they got into it back in the day when there was not many people doing it. Whereas now they're like, if you get into it, there's a lot more competition. So
yeah.
But yeah, like through that, I then got into music, and then it was just kind of took off from there.
And what was your first band?
My first band was, oh my God, it was a terrible band. We were called Ready on Friday. And
That's a cool name, though.
it's a terrible name, Jade. It's horrible. We started when I was like 16 or maybe 15, and then I was in a band called The Annual, and then I was in a band called By the Glory, and then and those were all like pop punk bands,
Right.
playing like punk rock and pop punk, and I was in By the Glory up until like I was about 29, 30-ish, and then we started this.
Yeah.
And Jade, talk about your figure skating background.
Oh, yeah. So yeah, I did figure skating from the age of 8 till 18, actually.
Oh, wow.
Went to national championship 2 times, and we finished 8, I think, the last time. It was really fun. I did pair skating, so I'm used to pair partnering.
And there was a time when you worked with George Larocque, isn't there, to teach him how to figure skate? How did that go?
Yeah,
Really?
he is such a nice person.
You just told me something I don't even know about.
Yay.
Yeah, so George, he knew like the struggle of like figure skating and how it costs so much money and stuff like that for the family and stuff. So basically, he was trying to help the figure skater in some terms. He was doing shows with like me and 2 other girls, I think, and just to raise money and help us doing our careers in figure skating. So he was really nice, really, really, really nice.
That's amazing. And Zach, I wanted to ask you about the inspiration of Third Eye Blind.
Yeah. Oh, Third Eye Blind. Why I love that band? And
like how they inspired you when you were growing up.
Oh my God. I mean, Third Eye Blind was like the soundtrack of my life growing up. I was a total dweeb in high school, and I grew up watching, like American Pie and She's All That and like Can't Hardly Wait and all those that was my childhood, right? Like the late 90s, mid to late 90s, early 2000s. And Third Eye Blind came out in that era, like on the Big Shiny Tunes. I think when I was introduced to them. I listened to Semi Charmed Life. That was like the first song I discovered by them. And then I went out to HMV at the time and listened to their album in the back of the store and bought the CD. And I went to go see them for the first time at Metropolis, which is a venue here in Montreal. When I was, this is when the self-titled album came out. So like this must have been like late 90s, early 2000s. I was probably 12 or 13 years old. And like I think I went with a couple of friends, and like I don't know how my parents allowed me to go. I think my mom sat outside the venue and just waited for us to finish. It was just the soundtrack of my youth. Like that, like I wrote the lyrics down and like I had a journal, and I had the lyrics to like Jumper written down in my journal. And
you had a journal?
Oh yeah.
So cute.
Yeah. Like which is a bit weird in retrospect, because it was a song about, unfortunately, about suicide. And I wrote it down in my journal. So but it was just a song. It was just a band that was like everything to me, and I've seen them. I think I saw them twice after that as well. And to this day I still throw on Third Eye Blind, perfect marriage of like rock and roll and pop, and it's just everything,
Yeah, exactly. And I'm gonna say you have to break out those journals, because that's gonna be like a treasure trove of writing material.
Yeah. It's literally just me being like, do you remember the show Doug growing up? It was like a cartoon show.
Oh yeah, the cartoon. Yeah.
Like Doug the cartoon, and he had a journal, and like he used to speak to his journal, and he used to like write in the first person. So I'd be like, hey man, how's it going? And he'd like be speaking to himself. So I used to write my journal like that. I'm like, hey Zach, how's it going, man?
Aww,
you're good.
Cute.
You're good. Oh yeah, I'm really sad today. Like it was just like, if my mom found that thing, she could have been like, what is my son going? Like what's going on through this kid's head? But yeah.
Oh, that's hilarious. Now, Jade, within your figure skating, you mentioned that it was about 18 when you quit figure skating. And then I think that's when you started singing competitions and sort of getting into singing, and then also going into the hairstylist career. So what did that time, like around your early 20s, look like within singing and career? At that point, when you started the singing competitions, was that for fun, or did you have a sort of mindset that maybe music was something you wanted to do?
Yeah, that's funny because actually, when I was figure skating and doing competitions and stuff like that, I was um I was good to deal with the stress, but I was too shy to sing in front of people at that time. So I think the figure skating gave me that kind of strength to be able to sing in front of people, and then I started to do that because I felt like I was ready for it. So it kind of went through that direction. But I always liked to sing and I always wanted to do that. It was my dream, but I was too shy at the time. So
Right. And so, Zach, By the Glory, was that the band you were in the time that you went into the salon that you
yeah.
two
Yeah.
first met?
Yeah. That was
Okay.
By the Glory.
And so what was that time like for you? And well, actually, let's back up because are you an attorney as well?
Yes, I am.
Okay, it's almost like Superman and Clark Kent because I looked online and I saw this attorney with the same name from Quebec, but you have glasses on in a lot of the pictures, and I was like,
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that's him. But it's like, yeah, taking off the glasses to become
Yeah,
Superman.
yeah.
But so, what did that look like for you in becoming an attorney and being within music and the hopes for the future?
Oh boy. That's a big question you just asked there. Do you have an hour? I mean, it was, oh my God, how do I unpack that question?
So did you become an attorney as a career, or was music always sort of an underlying focus of something you wanted to do as a career?
So I became an attorney because my parents were always big on school,
Okay.
big on just getting an education and getting a solid educational foundation, and you'll always be able to make money as an attorney, and you'll always have a job and blah 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 blah. And I did that. When you're young and you're under the influence of your parents, and I love my parents, by the way. I'm not saying in any way that or shape or form that they made a mistake, but they were like, you should go do that. So I did that, but I never stopped playing music ever,
Right.
ever. Sometimes to like very much to my detriment, because like during law school I was like not studying.
Oh, really?
Running back home to play music. But I squeezed through. I made it out of law school and got a job and started working in firms, and but I just never lost sight of music. And when Jade and I met in 2016, I was very much still practicing, and probably more so at the I was like midway through my career, or at least midway of where I'm at now. And yeah, so I just continued on, and in many ways it was actually the best thing that could have ever happened to me. Best choice I've ever made was to go to law school, because now in retrospect, had I not done that, I might have struggled a lot more, like financially and stuff like that. And I might have just been like, it's like, screw music. I'm just going to go get a job and just go work with that. But since I had I can always have the law degree to fall back on and work in law. It allowed me to kind of take those chances, and and Jade as well. Like, she worked really, she's still working very hard as a hairdresser, and she just got into law school also.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so having those side gigs have allowed us to take the chances, go down to Nashville, do these things that we might have not otherwise been able to do. And yeah, I guess to wrap up the answer, because it's been a very long-winded answer, but if for any reason I can leave the law, leave law behind and become a singer songwriter full time, then that would be fantastic. I have no qualms with that, but until that happens, or until the transition would make sense, so I'll just keep on working and see where it goes.
And so what has it been like over the past couple of years as you've been busier with the music and going on the road, and like you say, going down to Nashville to work on music? What has that balance been like of music and normal life and working a day job?
Well, for me personally, it's actually been easier, believe it or not, as I've gotten more senior, because as you get more senior in any job that you do, you get better at it, you get more comfortable doing it, and you gain in independence. And especially with the pandemic, now everybody's working from home, and law has become very much like an online thing. You know, we're pleading now in court over teams, and I don't necessarily need to be physically present in the office. And my colleagues are the best. Like, they all know that I play music, you know, and I'm in a band. So, you know, they're like, listen, as long as you're getting the job done and you're answering the emails and you're doing the work, we don't care if you're in Abu Dhabi or Nashville or, you know, on tour in Europe. You know, as long as you get the job done, we're happy. And if we see your face now and then, you know, at the office physically, then great, you know? So it's actually been, weirdly enough, easier now than it's ever been.
Right. And Jade, for you, so are you doing the music, being a hairstylist, and going to law school all at the same time?
Yeah.
Superwoman right here.
But now I work at the hairdressing. I only do once a week, so 1 day a week. So
Okay.
not too much busy, but
She's cutting my hair after this, by the way.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, actually, yeah.
I think I'm a workaholic. So
Yeah.
I get nervous when I do nothing, and I like to like keep it going and do
You have
stuff.
very good work ethic.
Yeah, I think so.
Very, very good work
Thanks,
ethic.
Zach.
Yeah. No, Jade's a bit of an old soul in that sense. Like, she's not like, you know, she's very, you know, very good with getting up at the same time and being at work on time and working hard and keeping her head down, and, you know.
And the pandemic helped too, because like all the hair salons were closed, so I had time to focus on music, on writing, school, and stuff. So it went pretty easy last 2 years.
And so, as artists, you were sort of just beginning when 2020 hit, and so for many artists who were just beginning, it was a difficult time because there was nothing to do. But for the two of you, was it a bit of a blessing because it did allow you to focus more on the music during that time?
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, it allowed us to really, because like during that time, everything was shut down. So we didn't have that obligation to necessarily go into work. And I think we went down to Nashville a couple of times for like 5 days, 10 days or whatever. Yeah. And it's like, you know,
we had a hard time to enter.
We had a hard time entering the States a couple of times. But like, you know, and I think like we just didn't tell anybody where we were going, you know. Like, I was like, you know, I'm at home in Montreal, but in reality I'm in Nashville, you know.
Yeah, exactly.
I was doing the work, you know.
That's awesome. And now let's go back to the beginning of you as a duo. So you meet in a barber shop. Jade, you do Zach's hair for a photo shoot for his band By the Glory, and you get into a conversation about music. And then a few weeks later, Zach, you call up Jade and set up a meeting to sing together. Now, how quickly after that meeting did you realize that you were a fit and that you wanted to join together to try and see if you could make this into something? Was it pretty instantaneous?
Yeah, it was like right away we were like, hey, our voices fit, we kind of like each other, everything goes well, so let's try to write and see how it goes. And we just went like going at the
we were like we were like two, like, honestly, we were just like two we were like two like Tweedledum and Tweedledee, like just two like like we were just like, oh, this sounds good, okay, let's just, you know. Like, we weren't methodical about it. We didn't sit down and like have this business plan where we're like, okay, these are our goals and this is what we're gonna do. We just kind of like, we're like, oh, this is fun, like, all right, like, good jam, like, let's jam again next week, and, you know, next week, and that was it, you know. And
let's go find producers and see,
let's go talk to, and let's start writing. And then we'd start, you came over to my parents' place, and then I came over to your place, and we'd like, I'd show you some riffs, and then you showed me some melodies, and then we'd kind of come up with these songs, and then we found a producer, and it kind of happened. It moved forward pretty organically like that, you know?
Yeah.
Right. And within the songwriting, Zach, I believe the reason you wanted to get more into the country realm away from the pop punk was because you were starting to write more within the country sound. And so, Jade, for you, where was your songwriting at? Had you ever song written?
Not before I knew him. So I started to write with Zach. Yeah. We wrote the first EP kind of together.
Yeah.
And but Zach is really more on the writing side. I like more to sing, but I kind of write too. But yeah.
And so what was it like when you started heading down to Nashville did you start getting more into the co-writing realm when you moved down there, or when you traveled down there rather?
We did one writing trip actually.
Was it one?
Yeah, we did one writing trip.
Yeah, we did one writing trip. And then yeah, so at first we wrote mostly, I mean, exclusively with people in Montreal.
Yeah.
Then we started going down to Nashville to write with people there. Then we met Danick, and then like the pandemic hit, and in the pandemic, like I've been writing more now
On Zoom.
than I've ever written before.
Right.
You know,
and it works well.
Yeah, works great.
Yeah, what has it meant for your music and the evolution of your music as you have moved more towards maybe more co-writes and working with a larger circle of people?
Well, it's interesting because you go from writing always with the same people, which is what we did with our first EP, where we thought like, okay, this is the way you're supposed to write music, you know, and to now mixing and matching with different people, and finally kind of seeing that, oh my God, like other people have different ways of approaching things and they have different ideas, and it's sometimes good to get like one person in the room who's more of a lyrical person, one person who's in the room who's more of a melody person, and kind of creating these like different, like, you know, teams of people. So like song, you know, evolutionarily speaking, I don't even know if that's a word, but the songs have like evolved a lot more. Songwriting's evolved a lot more. It's gotten a lot better, I think. You know, so and we're also starting to like play songs with other people. You know, I've been writing a lot with other people, and this girl Ali Walker just put out a song last week, and that was a cut.
She actually just moved to where I live in Kelowna in BC. She actually just moved to this area.
Okay, so Red Wine and Whiskey is a song that she put out last week, and it's doing great. And you know, that was a song that I wrote with her and a couple of other guys, and so that is something that I would have probably never done pre-pandemic, because I was always writing with Jade and with these two other guys here in Montreal. So like we were very restricted in terms of like our network, you know?
Right. Yeah. And within the thoughts, I saw you mention the thoughts of like when you started out, wondering if you were any good and wondering if people would like your sound. And so do you remember a point where you clicked well enough and like you had enough stuff going on that you were like, okay, this might actually be a thing that can work out?
Well, yes, but I think we always do question ourselves still, like
Totally.
we're super hard toward us. So yes, but every time we do shows and connect with people and stuff, we're like, hey, so people like our stuff, actually, just not us and our moms. So that's a good thing. But yeah, I think we always question ourselves, and I think it's something that makes us evolve in music too. So it's a bad thing and a good thing to be hard toward yourself. But
yeah, we're definitely not like the like, yeah, we're definitely not like, okay, we're just gonna put this out and kind of like forget about it. Like I think we're both like, both have a bit of anxiety, and we both suffer a bit like from imposter syndrome,
right?
You know, so yeah. But I think the point for me was when we put out Ain't No One Like You, and that song really did well. Like it really like it's got like, it's into like the 300,000s of streams just on Spotify alone, and like it really connected with people. And I remember there's this one girl, Sandy, Sandy, this girl Sandy, who's like a super fan, and she like would write us all the time, be like, I can't wait to hear that song. I love that song. Like that's me and my boyfriend's song, and it's the best song, and we're gonna come see you play it. And I think that was like for a turning point for me, where I was like, okay, like we're unsigned, nobody knows who the hell we are, but we're at least connecting with like people,
right?
You know?
Yeah, because that's sort of what the goal is at the end of the day, right?
Yeah, totally.
Yeah,
that's awesome. And also in August, so I saw an interview from, I think it was last year, and Jade, you talked about the inspiration of Shania Twain within your musical career and how it would be so amazing to be able to play a show with her. And then in August, like a month ago, not even a month ago, you guys played Boots and Hearts on the same day as Shania Twain. So just talk about that day and that experience and what it was like.
Oh my god, I was excited for our show, but actually I was so excited to see her after playing. I think in the crowd I really looked like a little girl at Christmas morning, but yeah, she was so good. Oh my god. I love her. I just love her.
And like along this journey, like you talk about sort of the imposter syndrome and not knowing if you're good enough, but when you have these bigger moments, are you able to take those in and realize what is happening in the moment, and that to celebrate these little victories, I guess, along the way?
Yeah, for sure. Like Boots and Arts and Lasso Festival in Montreal, they were such big festival. They were our biggest festival we ever did, and we were like, gosh, like 5 years ago, we were looking at them like, oh my god, that's where we want to be like in a couple of years, and we did them, and yeah, we're super super happy about that. And
Yeah, I think also like I think there are moments where we feel like we're, where we suffer from that imposter syndrome, but at the same time, then I take a step back and I'll speak for myself. I think Jay's the same. We take a step back and we look at the big picture and we say, we haven't been doing this for like 6 months.
no,
You
yeah,
know,
that's
we've been
it.
doing this for 6 years, 6 years. And we started off from nothing. Like there was no development deal with a label. There was no like, we started with nothing, zero. So this was all just like us being like, hey, I think we can do this in a city, by the way, where, I mean, if you think countries in existence in Quebec now, 6 years ago, it was like nothing. Like if you said
Right.
country in downtown
Yeah.
Montreal, people were like, what? You know? So yeah, so when we do these big festivals, we are like, oh my God, this is otherworldly and a dream of ours. But at the same time, we're like, yeah, but we also kept our heads down and we did the work for the last 6 years. And
Yeah.
we're trying to take in the moment. And if it whether it lasts the next 5 years or 2 years or 10 years or whatever, we're trying to really take in those moments and remind ourselves that like we did put in the work to get to
Oh
that
yeah,
point,
totally.
So
Yeah, exactly. And I was going to ask you about, you talk about starting out in Quebec 6 years ago when country was non-existent. And then also you're moving into a realm of a male-female duo in country music, something that not many people have been able to make successful. I mean, Thompson Square is one that they had the #1 and they had some success. And I talked to Smithfield. They're ones that are on the rise, Kate and Alex, and then the Rec Laws. But other than that, there's not a lot of male female duos who have been able to really crack into the top of the country charts. And so for you guys, when you look at that and look at where you are and where you want to go, sort of where do you see the roadmap going?
the roadmap is just try to put out the best music possible. I mean, ultimately, and as cliche as it sounds as an answer, the best song will always win. Like
Yeah,
the Rec Laws are a great example. They put out great songs. So
yeah,
like they are, yes, they are a girl guy duo, but like their songs are just really good. Lady Antebellum, they're a threesome. And one of the guys doesn't even like, he sings, does back as well, plays guitar, and they for many years and still now are at the top of their game. So it's I think it's just it's about creating a magic, it's about creating an emotion, it's about creating an experience for people that maybe a lot of duos haven't been able to kind of pull off or replicate off of the ones that have made it work. But the roadmap is just to put out the best songs possible and just put on the best show possible.
Yeah.
And have people remember us, not necessarily because we're a duo, but maybe because they might relate to one more than the other, or just for us as a whole, whatever it is. We don't we just want to put out the best product possible.
right. And working with Danick, what has that meant for your growth as artists?
Oh, he's such a good producer, and it's fun to work with him too, because he lives in Nashville and he knows the Quebec accent because he's a francophone from here actually. So he knows how to twang the words and stuff to make it sound like there's no French accent like I'm speaking.
Right.
So it really helps us. And he has the ears. He has such an ear, like to know right away all the harmonies, what fits, what doesn't fit well. Because before we went in studio, we always work the songs and find our harmonies and stuff like that. And we go there, and he's like, okay, this works, this doesn't work. He's really good to direct us, and he's such a nice man too. So it's been really cool.
Right. And when I was talking to Smithfield, I kind of talked to them about the fact that one of the most annoying questions they get is if they're dating. But on the other side of it, when they're performing, they want to create that vibe within themselves and the energy that makes the crowd think they are dating, because that's the energy that the crowd gets off of it. So for you guys in your live show, is that the type of energy that you try and create, an energy that makes people wonder if you're a couple or not?
Kind of, yeah. And that's fun because we can sing about love and stuff like that, because we're like not brother and sister too. So it's fun to make people like wondering and thinking like, are they or are they not? And yeah, it's been fun.
I think also like the songs themselves, like we just released a song called To the Moon and Back, and To the Moon and Back is like, you know, it's about loving somebody to the moon and back.
Yeah.
I think naturally, before we never really sat down and were like, we're gonna like totally manipulate people and make them think that like we're in a couple or something. But I think naturally we just gravitated towards like looking at each other for certain songs and interacting with each other in a kind of a, I guess, like romantic-ish way on stage, because the songs themselves are an emotion, and we feel that emotion on stage, so we can't help but like look at each other and kind of be gravitated towards the other because we're singing it together, you know?
Yeah.
Right.
It's been great.
And as far as the future goes, you're both very busy. And Zach, I believe that By the Glory has morphed into Sucker Punch, who you continue to play with.
Oh my God, you do your research, man. You do deep dives.
I do. I love it. And so what does the future hold? You both have so much going on.
I mean, listen, Sucker Punch is just, you know, it's a band in which I play guitar in, and I'm not the lead guy.
Right.
I just show up and I jump around stage and I do backups and I write the songs with the guys. And which actually, little side note, I brought the guy, like the bassist who started the band, is a really good friend of mine, and he was looking for people to write with, and I introduced him to some country people. So we've been writing songs in co-writes.
Oh, okay.
Pop punk songs with like 4 people in the room, acoustic guitars, and then kind of bringing them to that next level, you know, and producing them in the pop punk way. But anyways, I'm going to close that for a second. But yeah, to answer your question, that's just something I can do on the side, you know, and just have fun doing. But obviously my main focus is Five Roses, and you know, in an ideal world, it would be Five Roses, and I'd have Sucker Punch also, and just play music for the rest of my life, you know.
And are you guys like, do you feel like you're close to that? Do you feel like with the rise that you've been on, that you might be on a trajectory towards being able to leave those day jobs and be able to focus on this comfortably as a career?
Well, we never know like in advance, but I think we're on the right way and we work like super hard. So that's our biggest wish, I think. If I speak for myself, I can quit school anytime to do only music. So that's a big wish of mine. But we'll see, because we can't really tell. Like, music is such unknown career in the sense of like we never know what's gonna happen with any act. So yeah, I think it's a wish, but we'll see. And we work hard and do the things we have to do to get there, and we'll see if it works.
And do you ever see a time, if it was the right move, in moving down to Nashville full time?
I'd love to.
I'd love to too. Yeah.
I'd love to, or even just to have like an apartment down there.
Yeah.
Like invest in an apartment down there together, and be down there, several months out of the year to do business and write and yeah, that would be great.
It's something we can see, like, if it gets to that point, I think we're ready to do it. Is it the point now? I don't think so, but maybe it will come like sooner than we think.
That's it.
Who knows?
I think like how it develops in Canada is going to be a good indicator,
Yeah, totally.
If we see like this is doing well here and we want to maybe take our chance at the States and get a deal down there for sure.
And we're also Montreal lovers, so Montreal's we're gonna miss Montreal if we quit.
Yeah, Nashville's cool too.
Yeah,
don't say no.
Right. And what's it been like growing within Canada, and especially the country music community? Because I mean, down in Nashville, you're in one city. You have basically the country community in a city. In Canada, everyone's spread out across the country. You don't have one main hub in Canada. But for you guys, I mean, signing your record deal, you're on the same label as Jess Moskaluk and Tyler Joe Miller and some other amazing artists. And then you've had the chance to go to the CCMA Awards and sort of get into the country community that way. So what has that been like in making your way into that community and receiving the support from other artists?
It's been really fun. That's a good question, because like in country music, I feel like we're all like a big family. And when we went to Nashville, we saw a lot of Canadian acts from country music, and everybody's like so close and speak to everybody. It's been really nice. It's been fun.
It's been great. Everybody's so nice. It's and everybody's very curious about Quebec and where we're from, and yeah, it's been great. And the CCMAs are a great thing for that reason, exactly, because it kind of makes everybody convene in one spot. So the like just from the CCMAs last year, just the connections the people I met, Jade met, like that spun off into co-writes, that spun off into, just relationships for a bunch of things, and so yeah, I mean, it's would it be great if it was all kind of congregated into one city for sure, but we're doing the best we can here in Canada, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. And you're going to be hitting the road with Tebe in October for some shows. What is that? Is that going to be a full band show, or are you going to be opening acoustic for him?
It's going to be a full band show.
Okay, so is this your first full band show tour then?
Yes, it is.
So what's it going to be like?
Oh, it's going to be great, man. It's going to be great. We're going to have a lot of fun, and we're going to take our set that we have right now, and we're going to tinker with it, create a couple more nice moments in there, and just from start to finish, just we're gonna have 30 minutes, right? And we have 7 or 8, I think 7 shows.
Yep,
7 shows. So we got what is that? 3.5 hours to show people what we got, So we're gonna make those 3.5 hours count.
Right. And what's it been like as you are able to sort of spread your wings outside of Quebec and get into different regions and spread your music and maybe see the impact that your music is having outside of your home province?
It's been crazy. Every time we do a show and see people singing our song, we're like, wow, it's the most, like, it's the best thing after sliced bread.
Yeah. Like this person who's like at Boots and Hearts, who's like clearly not from Montreal, from Ontario or maybe some other part of Canada, who's singing the song, and it's a feeling like no other, really.
Yeah, really.
That's awesome. Well, JukeBox Vibrations is the new EP out now, and people can see you on tour with Tebe, and we'll be excited for more new music. Maybe are you continually working on new music around your schedule?
For sure.
Yep.
Oh yeah. Got some demos in the pipeline. Got some plans coming up.
Thank you once again so much for listening, and thank you to Jade and Zach for stopping by to share their story. Be sure to check out Five Roses' debut EP, JukeBox Vibrations. Please also be sure to check out us on social media. We're available on all platforms, so just head over, search Country Music Made Me, and give us a follow. You can also check us out at countrymusicmademe.com, where you can sign up for our newsletter to receive exclusive content. And finally, if you enjoyed today's episode, please leave us a review, a rating. Anything helps. Thank you so much once again for listening, and we'll see you next time on Country Music Made Me.